Sorry, y'all. It does that. Okay, it cut itself off. I think it may get hot, and because it always says when I have to cut it back on, it says that the sensor is being cleaned. So I think it's just because we're going so long. All right, almost finished. We're in chapter. We've got 2 chapters to go. When Jacob was told, your son Joseph has come to you, Israel rallied his strength and sat up on his bed. There's the Jacob and Israel used interchangeably. So he's sitting up on his bed now. And Jacob, it goes back to him, that name, said, God Almighty appeared to me at Luz, remember that, in the land of Canaan, where he blessed me. And if I remember, Luz is Bethlehem. Where he blessed me and said, I'm going to make you fruitful and your numbers increase. I'll give you this land as an everlasting possession to your descendants. Now then, your 2 sons born to you in Egypt before I came to you here will be reckoned as mine. So they need to get that cleared up. So that's why you're getting this little detail in there. So Ephraim and Manasseh will be mine, just as Reuben and Simeon are mine. And any child born to you after them will be yours. In the territory they inherit, they will be reckoned under the names of their brothers. As I returned from Padam, I think that's Padam Aram. Oh, it says the northwest is what that means. To my sorrow, Rachel died in the land of Canaan while we were still on the way, in a little distance from Bethlehem. Remember, she was buried there beside the road to Ephrath. That is Bethlehem. So she is not buried where the fathers are. When Israel saw the sons of Joseph, he said, who are these? And he said, these are the sons of God given me here. And so Israel said, bring them to me so I can bless them. So that's what's going on here. That's why we're getting chapter 48. So Joseph brought the sons close to them. Jacob can barely see at this point. It says Israel's eyes were failing. Again, the flip of the name. And he kissed them and embraced them. And Israel said to Joseph, I never expected to see your face again, and now God has allowed me to see your children too. And Joseph removed them from Israel's knees and bowed down with his face to the ground. And Joseph took both of them, Ephraim on his right, Israel on his left, and Manasseh on his left. Ephraim on his right towards Israel's left, Manasseh on his left towards Israel's right, and brought them close together. But Israel reached out his hands and put them on Ephraim's neck, though he was the younger, and crossing his arms, he put his left hand on Manasseh's head, and even though Manasseh was the firstborn. Then he blessed Joseph and said, May the God whom my fathers Abraham, Isaac walked faithfully, and it goes down to say, may increase greatly on the earth. And when Joseph saw his father placing his right hand on Ephraim's head, he was displeased. So he took his father's hands to move it from Ephraim's head and put it on Manasseh's head. And he says, no, Father, this is the firstborn. Put your right hand on his head. Isn't it interesting how he had gotten the blessing switched from Esau? And now he's trying to keep it straight. He's trying to keep that numeric, who's the firstborn, who's the secondborn, straight. And his father says, no, I know what I'm doing. He too will be a people, and he too will become great. But nevertheless, his younger brother will be greater than he, and his descendants will become a group of nations. He blessed them that day, and in your name will Israel pronounce this blessing. May God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh. So he put Ephraim ahead of Manasseh. Then Israel said to Joseph, I'm about to die, and to give you one more ridge of land than to your brothers, the ridge I took from the Amorites with my sword and my bow. So he's giving him a little bit more land. He says, I'm about to die, but God will be with you and take you back to the land of your fathers. So in chapter 49, it says he blessed, Jacob called the sons and gathered around. He's going to give the blessing. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to try to go through this really fast, but if you look at the blessing, it's more kind of like it says in 49 verse 28, giving each blessing appropriate to him. Not all of this sounds like a blessing, y'all, but it's appropriate to what they're supposed to get. I'm going to go really fast. Assemble and listen, sons of Jacob. Listen to your father Israel. It's like, can we just start calling him Israel? I mean, but there's a reason why he keeps calling him Jacob and Israel at this point in history. It's to align the two of who Jacob was and who he became in Israel. Reuben, you are my firstborn, excelling in honor, excelling in wisdom. I'm skipping a lot of verbiage here. You will no longer excel, for when you went up from your father's bed into my couch and you defiled it. Remember, that's when he took his father's concubine. Simeon and Levi are brothers. Their swords are weapons of violence. Let me not join their assembly, for they have killed men in anger and hamstrung ox as they please. Cursed be their anger so fierce and their fury so cruel. I will scatter them in Jacob. I will disperse them in Israel. So what he's basically saying is going to split them all up. Judah, your brothers will praise you. This isn't jealousy where they're going to serve you. They're going to praise you. Who do we get through the line of Judah? We get the line of David. Who do we get through the line of David? The line of the Messiah, who is Jesus Christ. Your hand will be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's sons will bow down to you. You're a lion's cub. The scepter will not depart from Judah. Here's the prophetic part right here. Nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, and until he to whom it belongs shall come, and the obedience of nations shall be his. That's a foretelling of the Messiah. Judah is giving preeminence among his brothers until the coming of the Messiah, and that the scepter or the ruler's staff can also be rendered the commander. From between his feet refers to procreation. And Judah would continually produce leaders. Then next, who's next? Zebulun will live by the seashore and be a haven for ships. His border will extend towards Sidon. Issachar is a raw-boned donkey. Raw-boned means strong. Strong donkey, lying down among the sheep pens. When he sees how good his resting place is and how pleasant his land is, he will bend his shoulder to the burden and submit to forced labor. Interesting. Who's that? Issachar. Keep that in mind. Dan will provide, these are lands again. Dan will provide justice for his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan will be a snake by the roadside, a viper along the path. He will bite the horse's heels so that the rider tumbles backward. I look for your deliverance, Lord. Isn't this interesting? Because what it's doing, it's comparing a snake, which has a lot of force and a lot of can inflict quite a bit, but in comparison to its strength, it's small for its size, and it says the imagery is negative because Dan ends up being very treacherous and idolatrous, and we'll see that in Judges 18. I don't want to jump too far ahead. Gad will be attacked by a band of raiders, but he will attack them at their heels. Asher's food will be rich. He will provide delicacies fit for a king. Be interesting to see all this. Naphtali is a doe set free that bears fruitful fawns. In other words, Naphtali, who is a guy, by the way, the doe comment is that this is going to be a very fertile bloodline, meaning the doe who has a whole bunch of fawns. Joseph is a fruitful wine. With bitterness, archers attacked him. That was his brothers. But the bow remained steady. But it worked out for him anyway. And he ends up, in the Pharaoh's house and over the whole nation. Because of the hand of the mighty one on Jacob, because of the shepherd, the rock of Israel, because of your father's God who helps you, because of the Almighty who blesses you, all these lands will be on the head of Joseph. So he was saying, these bitter archers who attacked him, his own brothers, it worked out because God was with him. And it's because it was God's plan that even happened so that the whole nation could be saved. Many nations were saved because he didn't just save them. He saved everybody from starving to death. Benjamin's a ravenous wolf. In the morning he devours his prey, and in the evening he divides his plunder. That seems kind of negative to me. Remember, Benjamin's the baby. But also a wolf is able to get prey and to get plunder. It sounds like he's going to be warring. All these are the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is what the Father has said to them. And then he blessed them, each giving blessings appropriate to them, and that's what we just heard. Now it's the death of Jacob. He gave these instructions, I'm about to be gathered to my people. Bury me with my fathers. If you keep reading, it goes back and recounts where the body was and all that kind of stuff, and how he got it, when Abraham fought the field, and as a burial place from Ephron the Hittite. Remember all that? He said, I want to be sure and be buried there. And when Jacob finished giving instructions to his sons, he drew up his feet into the bed, breathed his last, and gathered to his people. Joseph threw himself on his father, wept and over him and cried. For those of you who've lost a father, you know that this is a very deep weeping that he is going through. He directed the physicians in his service to embalm his father, taking 40 days, for that is the time that it required for embalming. At that time, I guess, because it didn't later. And the Egyptians mourned him 70 days. So you've got 40 days, 70 days, when the days of mournings had passed. Joseph said to Pharaoh, I swore to my father that he would be buried where he wants to be. And he says, well, go do that. Go bury him where he wants to be. And then it goes and talks about how all these people were allowed to go with him, basically, to the funeral and the burial. They reached the threshing floor of Atad, and they lamented loudly and bitterly. And there Joseph observed a 7-day period of mourning for his father. There's a lot of mourning, a lot of funeral service going on here. When the Canaanites who lived there saw this mourning, they said the Egyptians are holding a solemn ceremony of mourning. And they talked about the land where it was, near Mamre. It goes back over all that again. Then in verse 15, Joseph saw his brothers, and Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead. And they said, what if Joseph holds a grudge? What if he pays us back for all the wrongs we did? So they sent a word to Joseph saying, your father left these instructions before he died. Joseph, this is what he said, that we're supposed to tell you. Joseph, I ask you to forgive your brothers for the sins and wrongs they committed in treating you so badly. Now, please forgive their sins. And when that message got to Joseph, that his brothers were saying that, it says, and Joseph wept. They threw themselves down before him, and they said, we're your slaves. And he says, don't be afraid. I'm in the house. I'm in the place of God. This is very, very famous scripture. What harm you intended me, God intended it to be for the good, to accomplish what is being done right now. So then don't be afraid. I'll provide for you, and God will surely come to your aid. And Joseph died at the